Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Tuesday Night Leadership Development Training. My name is Jessica Hill, and before we hear from tonight's incredible trainer, it is time for our Elevate and Execute tip. Tonight's Elevate and Execute tip is this: attitude is a choice. We may not get to choose everything that happens to us, but we do get to choose the attitude we bring into it. Things are not always going to go according to plan. There will be disappointments, there will be challenges, and there will be days when things simply don't go the way we wanted them to. One thing I've learned is that having a positive attitude doesn't mean pretending everything is perfect. It means deciding that I'm not going to let a difficult moment determine how I show up. I may not be able to change the situation, but I can choose how I respond to it. And as leaders, our attitude doesn't just affect us, it can affect the people around us too. People notice how we handle things when they don't go our way. And sometimes the way we respond can encourage someone else to handle their situations differently too. So this week, when something doesn't go the way you plan, before you react, ask yourself, what attitude am I bringing into this situation? Choose to look for the lesson. Choose to keep moving forward. Choose to encourage someone else. And most importantly, don't give one difficult moment the power to determine the rest of your day. Because we can't always choose our circumstances, but we can choose how we show up in them. And speaking of attitude, leadership, and how we show up for others, tonight we are honored to hear from a leader who consistently demonstrates the importance of leading with the right mindset. Coach Seymour Greenidge Blake continues to lead through mentorship, consistency, and servant leadership. As a multiple six-figure earner and respected leader, he has inspired and developed countless people both personally and professionally. And I know tonight's training is going to bring tremendous value to everyone on this call. So wherever you are joining from tonight, lean in, remove distractions, and get ready to take notes. It is truly my honor and privilege to introduce a multiple six-figure earner, Coach Seymour Greenidge Blake.
There we go. There we go. Thank you.
You're
Thanks,
welcome.
Jessica, for the introduction. Uh, Tonight, I was hoping to have more fellows on here tonight, but I see, like always, the queens always overtake. We need to start stepping up, fellas, because if we look at the participant on this call, I would say the majority of them on here are women, the queens. So, but for those that did show up, tonight's going to be a very serious teaching because this is something that we have gotten accustomed to doing. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and go off camera so I can go ahead and get this message across to the fellows and to the families in general. Okay. First, let me say good evening to everyone that made it on the call tonight. I really appreciate every one of you that did take the time to put the time into yourself to get on this call tonight. So tonight, basically what we're going to be doing, I've actually created this, started it last Monday, or no, not, I mean, last Wednesday, because I didn't think about it. I was trying to figure out what I was going to talk about today, and I came up with it on Wednesday of last week. Okay, and so tonight's training is not simply about a conversation about men expressing feeling. Okay, that's not what this is going to be about. The core message is accountability. See, when a man repeatedly tells his wife and family, I'm okay, I got it, don't worry about me at all, he can unintentionally train the people closest to him to believe him, even when he desperately needs their support. So that is something that we got to stop doing. Now, if we are okay, it's fine. But a lot of times we're not. But that's always the answer that we gives. I'm okay. I got this. I'm good. We got to stop that. So today's topic is the Superman syndrome. Fellas, take off the cape. I need you to take it off before that weight start to break you down. Again, the Superman syndrome. I need you fellas to take the cape off before that weight starts to break you. Okay? So, fellas, we need to have a different conversation. Okay? So, tonight, I want to talk about something that we don't talk about enough. I'm not talking about money. I'm not talking about business. I'm not talking about physical strength. I'm talking about what happens behind the smile, what happens behind the handshake, behind the confidence, and behind those three words that so many of us have mastered. I am okay. Understand that sometimes we're not. Sometimes we're nowhere close to being okay. But somewhere along the way, many of us learn that admitting that didn't fit the definition of us being a man. See, a lot of us were raised to believe that our jobs is to handle every single thing. When trouble comes, handle it. When the bills start piling up, handle it. When the family needs something, handle it. Sometimes, even when we are exhausted, we keep moving. Sometimes we are scared, but you know what we tell ourselves? Don't show it. See, when we are hurt, we all we do is shake it off. When somebody asks, "Are you okay?" we automatically answer, "I am good." We don't even stop to ask ourselves whether it is true or not. And trust me, I am guilty of that myself. I am guilty of that myself. See, sometimes that happens. We don't that sometimes I mean sometimes some things happens that we don't expect to happen. And after years of telling our wives or children or friends or families that we're okay, guess what happens? They begin to believe us. And why won't they? Because we trained them that way. We taught everybody around us that Seymour doesn't need anything. Dad doesn't need anything. Husbands don't need anything. Grandpa doesn't need anything. The strong man has it covered. So when the day finally comes, when we desperately need somebody to recognize that we are struggling or we are hurt because nobody noticed, then we start wondering why. Fellows, we have to ask ourselves a difficult question. How can somebody respond to a need that we spent years teaching them does not exist? So we cannot continuously hide our pain and then become angry because the people that we love didn't recognize what we deliberately concealed from them all these years. They're not necessarily ignoring us. You see, sometimes they're simply responding to the version of ourselves that we consistently presented to them. And if what I'm saying makes sense, if it's reaching you, I want you to put a 1 in the chat. If it's not, put a 2. See, that is why tonight isn't about blaming women. It isn't about blaming our wives, our kids. This is about examining what we as men has been communicating to them. See, because sometimes the strongest thing a man can say isn't, "I've got it." Sometimes it's, "I don't have it today and I need you." So tonight we're talking Superman's cape off. And not because we're giving up on our strength, but because we're redefining it. See, real strength isn't pretending nothing hurts. Real strength is knowing when something hurts, understanding what you need, and having enough courage to communicate it before silence becomes resentment. Again, I was a person that was guilty of that. Because if something was bothering me back in my younger years, even during my first marriage, I keep it in, I won't communicate it. And it will stay like that for weeks sometimes. My second marriage, I learned how to communicate because that's what she taught me. You got to talk. You got to let me know when something is wrong, when something is bothering you. Because when you keep it in, when it comes out, it sometimes can be very bad. So we got to take that Superman cape off. Who told men that we have to carry everything? Who told us that? See, for generations, many boys have received messages about masculinity before they were even old enough to understand them. Big boys don't cry. Come on, toughen up. Stop acting soft. Handle your business. Be a man. See, some of those messages were intended to develop resilience. See, but taken too far, they can teach a boy something completely different. They can teach them that your emotions are acceptable only when nobody else can see them. And if that's not the truth, I don't know how much further from that I could get to. See, the little boy eventually becomes a husband, a father, a businessman, a leader, a coach, provider, grandfather, or even a community leader. His responsibilities become larger, but his emotional vocabulary sometimes remain limited. See, he knows how to say, I'll handle it. He knows how to say, don't worry about me. He also knows how to say, I am good. But nobody taught him how to say, I'm overwhelmed. Nobody taught him how to say, I'm afraid. Nobody taught him how to say, I need reassurance right now. And that's where the Superman syndrome begins. See, Superman isn't allowed to have a bad day. Why? Because everybody expects Superman to save everyone else. Superman doesn't get tired. He doesn't become overwhelmed. He don't say, somebody help me. But here's the problem, guys. Superman is a frictional character. You are a human being, and human beings have limits. See, some men wear that cape so long that everybody around them forgets there's a human being underneath that cape. The family sees the provider, the employees see the CEO, the children see dad, the community sees the leader. Everybody sees what that man does, but every few people knows what that man carries. Just very few people know what he carries. And the danger begins when the man himself start believing that character of being Superman. He becomes so committed to being everybody's Superman that he stopped recognizing when he needs help. And eventually, he isn't simply hiding his emotions from other people, he's hiding them from himself. See, so here is the first principle tonight. Strength without vulnerability eventually becomes isolation. You can be powerful and you can still need support. You can be a leader and still become overwhelmed. You guys can protect your family and still tell your family when you need them to stand beside you. There's nothing wrong with that. That don't make you weak. See, I'm okay can become the most expensive lie that we tell. Last week we talked about stop making the decision about yourself. The week before that we talk about the word I am. We put both of those in this conversation of what we're talking about today, because here we go. We say we're okay. I'm okay. Right there, you're trying to make an arrangement, an agreement, and trying to work something out with how you really are. We talked about those two topics last 2 weeks. See, your wife asks, "Baby, are you okay?" And you say, "Yeah, I'm fine." Your son asks, "Dad, you good?" You say, "I'm good." Your daughter noticed that you're quiet and asks what's wrong. And what do you tell her? Nothing. Your friends call and hear something different in your voice. "Man, you are right." "Yeah, bro, I am. I'm straight." And everybody continues with their days. But suppose none of those answers were true. Suppose you were worried about money. Suppose your business wasn't going the way that you expected it. What if you felt rejected, exhausted, disappointed, scared, or even uncertain? Somebody opened the door for you to communicate and you closed it with two words: "I'm okay." We got to start thinking about that. See, then months later, you begin thinking that nobody checks on you. But you know what? They did. Nobody cares what I'm going through. But somebody did ask. My wife doesn't understand me. But when she asked you to explain what was happening, you said nothing was wrong. And this is where men have to accept responsibility without beating ourselves up. See, communication teaches people how to interact with us. And if every time your wife asks whether something is wrong, and you tell her you're fine, eventually she's going to respect your answer. See, that doesn't necessarily mean that she stopped caring. What that means is that she learned to believe what you told her. And that's where resentment can begin. How can she see what is going through, but think about the question, who's calling me while I'm on this phone? And think about the question, okay, who can, somebody calling me? Okay, I'm not gonna worry about that right now. Stop, stop. I'm sorry, guys. Okay, the resentment can begin. How can she see what is going through, but think about the question? We're expecting somebody else to decode what we refuse to communicate. We're asking them, is my mic still on? Yeah. We're asking them to interpret silence, facial expressions, body language, shorter answers, longer hours, and emotional distance, and somehow arrived at the exact conclusion that we never expressed. So, fellas, tonight I want you to replace one habit. Instead of automatically saying I'm okay, stop for 3 seconds and ask yourself, am I really okay? And if you aren't, tell the truth appropriately. I'm having a difficult day. Something is weighing me down. I'm not ready to explain everything yet, but I'm not okay. That one change can transform communication. Okay? We train them to believe that we don't need anything. I want you to do this. Think about what happens through repetition. See, every time that something goes wrong, you handle it. Every time you're struggling, you hide it. Every time you're asked whether you need help, you decline. You decline. And then eventually, the people around you develop an expectation that says, oh, he has it covered. Then one day you're carrying something that feels so heavy. You look around and wonder, why isn't anybody helping me? But your family may not even know that you're struggling because you have spent years establishing yourself as a person who needs no assistance. This is where misunderstanding will start to enter a marriage. A husband may interpret his wife's lack of intervention as indifferences. His wife may interpret his silence as confidence. His thinking, he's thinking she doesn't care. She thinks he said he's got it. Two people can love one another deeply and still completely misunderstand each other because the truth isn't being spoken. Your children learn from this too, guys. Sons can watch dad and conclude that being a man means that never revealing fear or pain. Daughters can watch dad and assume that men simply don't have the same emotion. They don't have that same emotional need as everybody else. Then the pattern travels into another generation. See, our responsibility is to interrupt that pattern. Let her sons see that dad can be strong and transparent. Let her daughters understand that men need compassion too. Let her wives understand that partnership means more than sharing bills, responsibilities, and a home. Partnership means sharing some of the emotional load. See, because a powerful family isn't one where nobody struggles. A powerful family is one where people don't have to struggle alone. And men, if we want that kind of family, then we have to give our families permission to know us beyond that role that we perform. See, your wife cannot respond to what you refuse to reveal to her. See, men sometimes expect their wives to automatically know what is wrong. See, we think, oh, she knows me. She should know. But knowing you doesn't make someone a mind reader, guys. Your wife cannot notice that something changes. I mean, she can notice that something changes, but she cannot always identify exactly what happened. She can always identify what you're feeling or what you need. Imagine she asks, what's wrong? And you say, oh, nothing. She asks again, are you sure? And what do you say? I'm good. Eventually, she stopped asking because she doesn't want to pressure you. See, now you interpret her silence as a lack of concern, while she interprets her silence as respecting the boundaries that you created. And that is how two people who love each other can begin emotionally drifting without either person intending for it to happen. The problem isn't always the absence of love, sometimes it's the absence of accurate information. Understand that communication isn't weakness, fellas. It is actually intelligence. And if I can tell somebody exactly what I need in business, then I should be able to develop the ability to tell the person I share my life with what I need emotionally. See, maybe I don't need her to solve everything and anything, Maybe I simply needed her to listen. And that's okay. That is okay. Try saying this: I don't need you to fix this. I just need you to be here with me. That sentence alone can remove tremendous pressure from both people. Know that she doesn't have to guess what the role she's supposed to play, and you don't have to become frustrated because she responded differently from what you secretly wanted. So your wife should not have to conduct an investigation every single time that something is bothering you. Give her the opportunity to support you by giving her truthful information. Vulnerability doesn't take authority away from a man. Healthy vulnerability creates intimacy. What happens when a man carries too much for too long? Let's ask ourselves that. Imagine carrying a backpack. Every disappointment becomes another brick. Just imagine that. Every disappointment that you carry when you carry that backpack is a brick that was added to it. Financial pressure, another brick. Family responsibility, another brick. Business pressure, another brick. Relationship, fear, grief, everybody else's problem, another brick. Somebody asks whether the backpack is heavy. No, I'm good. That's just another brick you just added. You need some help? No, I got it. Another brick. Eventually, you know what happens? The issue isn't whether you're strong enough to carry that backpack. The issue is that nobody was designed to carry unlimited weight indefinitely. Something eventually has to change, fellas. See, for some men, that pressure shows up as irritably. For others, withdrawal. Some men bury themselves in work. Some of us stop communicating. Some of us become emotionally disconnected from the people that we love and the ones that we love the most. See, the family sees the behavior but doesn't understand the burden underneath it. The better approach is not waiting until the backpack becomes unbearable. Develop relationships where you can periodically actually put the bag down. See, your wife may be maybe one of those people. It could be even a trusted friend, a mentor, a counselor, a faith leader, coach, or even other appropriate support person that could be another person that could be that strength for you. See, because the strength includes knowing where healthy support exists. Now, this is the price that our children will pay when we never talk as men. See, because our children, and I said this a couple of weeks ago, kids are learning from what we do. They watch us, they understand what we're doing, they're learning from it. Their brain is like a sponge. See, because our children is always learning from us, including when we're not intentionally teaching them. See, when dad experiences something painful and refuses to discuss it, children may learn that silence is how men process pain. And then your son will grow up believing that his values comes from how much pressure he can withstand without showing emotion. Then he becomes a husband and repeats exactly what he watches. His wife asks, "What's wrong?" Nothing. His children ask, "If dad is okay, I'm good." Now, something that began as one man coping mechanism has become a family tradition. Guess what happened with our daughters? Because they're watching too. And if they never see their fathers appropriately express vulnerability, then they may enter adulthood without understanding that men have deep emotions, needs as well. They may mistake emotional silence for emotional strength because that's what the model they observed with their fathers. So imagine instead of a father saying, today was difficult, but I'm working through it, or dad is disappointed right now, but I'm going to be okay. Then that child learns something important. That child learns that emotions aren't emergencies. They can be acknowledged, communicated, managed, and worked through. That is legacy too. See, legacy isn't only what you leave financially, legacy is what you teach emotionally. And we can leave our children healthier communication patterns that the ones that we than the ones that we actually inherited. So we gotta change that curse. We gotta stop waiting until we break to actually speak. See, because one of the biggest mistakes that we make is waiting until the problem reaches a 10 before we mention it. Your wife didn't know about the level 1 through 9. They suddenly they suddenly then suddenly everything comes pouring out. We're in frustration because she don't immediately understand because you 1 through 9 you didn't say nothing, but then you get to 10 you explode. What if we learn to communicate at level 3? Just imagine if you started at level, even if it's level 3. I'm under pressure this week. I'm concerned about something. I'm carrying more than usual. I could use some support. See, those statement doesn't diminish your masculinity, guys. They protect your relationships. We have to stop treating communication like the fire extinguisher behind the glass that says break only in case of emergency. Communication should be maintenance, not emergency response. Think about your automobile. You don't wait for the engine to completely fail before you check the oil. So relationship deserve preventative maintenance too. See, emotional check-ins would allow a smaller concern to be addressed before it becomes a major conflict. So men, speak before the explosion. Speak before the shutdown. Speak before resentment. Before your wife has to ask 20 questions just to determine what is wrong. See, because early communication is relationship maintenance. So let's think about that 24-hour rule. Don't let an important emotion become resentment, guys. And so here's a tool that we want men to consider. When something significant is weighing you on you, don't automatically carry it silently for weeks. Give yourself a reasonable window to process it and then communicate it. And this doesn't mean that every irritation requires family meeting. Okay, understand that. Maturity means knowing the difference between a passing frustration and something that genuinely needs discussion. If you still think about something about it the next day, if it's continue affecting your attitude, communication, sleep, concentration, or even connection with your family, that may be a sign that it needs to be addressed. So you might say something happened yesterday that I thought I could shake off, but it still is bothering me. Can we talk about it? Notice the maturity in that sentence. No accusation, no explosion, no blame, just communication. And this prevents emotional interest from accumulating because unresolved emotions can operate like debt. Leave them unattended long enough, and what begins as a small issue becomes very expensive. Don't pay your electric bill for a month and see if it don't get cut off. The same thing can happen in a relationship. We don't want to wait until resentment has actually accumulated for years and then ask why the marriage feels disconnected. Address important things while they're still manageable. Okay, let's talk about a 30-day cape down challenge, guys. We're going to take that cape off for a month. Okay. So for the next 30 days, I want men to eliminate the automatic response, I'm okay, unless you're genuinely okay. Okay. So when somebody you trust asks you, how you doing? Stop and evaluate the question before answering. And if you're struggling, communicate one truthful sentence. You don't have to tell everybody everything. But with the people who you have earned access to your life, practice honesty. Second, have one meaningful conversation each day with your wife, with your partner, with your trusted family member or trusted person. Ask each other, how are you really doing? And listen without immediately trying to correct or solve the problem. Third, I want you to identify your pressure before it reaches the breaking point. I want you to ask, what am I carrying right now? Write it down if it's necessary. Sometimes seeing the burden in words will help you realize how much you have been really been carrying. Number four, become comfortable asking for specific support. Not nobody ever helps me. Instead, say, here's what will help me right now. Specific communication creates specific opportunities for support. And then finally, I want you to give people around you time to adjust. If you have spent 20 years telling everybody you're fine, don't expect them to completely understand the new version of you in 20 minutes. You're retraining and communication pattern that took years to actually build. So the conversation that men needs to have tonight is this. And I want you to do this when this Zoom ends. I don't want this to simply become another good training that you heard. I want somebody to have a conversation. Sit with your spouse and tell her. There are times when I've told you, and you don't have to use these exact words, but these are just an example. There are times when I told you I was okay when I wasn't. And I realized that I've expected you to somehow know the difference that is not fear communication. Tell your children when it's appropriate. Dad doesn't always have everything figured out. Let them discover that strength and humanity can occupy the same body. Call your brother, your friend, your father, your son, your mentor. And I gotta give my praise to my brother Michael Demps, brother Arthur Brooks. I get calls from them just about every day. And the first thing Mike always said to me, brother, you okay? And sometimes my answer was I'm okay. But then sometimes I was honest with him. So I want to give props to those two brothers right there. Uh, Again, I say, call your brother, friend, father, son, mentor, somebody that you trust, and ask a different question. Not you good, because we already know what men are trained to say. Ask, how are you really doing? And when he answers, give him enough silence to tell you the truth. Become sometimes a man, because sometimes a man doesn't need another motivational speech. Sometimes you just need permission to stop performing strength long enough to experience support. So, closing, fellas, remember this: Superman, you can take the cape off. You have carried families, you have built business, you have served communities, you have protected peoples, you have paid bills. And when you didn't know where the money was going to come from, guess what? You have smiled when you were exhausted. You have encouraged everybody else while privately wondering who was going to encourage you. But there comes a point when, guess what? Strength has to evolve. See, you cannot spend your entire life telling everybody, I don't need anything, and then become heartbroken when everybody believes you. You cannot continuously say, I'm okay, and expect your family to know that what you really meant was, please notice that I'm not. You cannot continuously say, I got it, and secretly become resentful because nobody offered to carry part of it for you. See, our families cannot consistently respond to information that we refuse to give them. So the change starts with you. The next time your wife asks, are you okay? Don't just automatically answer, stop, think. And if you're not okay, have enough strength to say, no, honey, I'm not okay today. I don't need you to fix me. I need you to solve. I don't need you to solve everything. I just need my wife. There's nothing weak about that. There's nothing unmanly about that. There's nothing shameful about it because Superman was never real. But you know who is? You are. And the people who loves you deserve the opportunity to love the real man, not only the cape that he wears. Take off the cape before the weight breaks you, guys. You don't have to stop being strong. You just have to stop pretending that strength means doing everything. I'm Coach Seymour Greenwich Blake, TGB Enterprise CEO. Back to you, Jessica.
Wow. Um, that was very powerful. Please give everybody, please give Coach Seymour gratitude in the chat. That's definitely speaking from the heart, as he always does. And ladies, we as wives, mothers, sisters, daughters, whatever, significant other, we also got to let our men know we are here for them, and it's a judgment-free zone as well. We got to let them know that they can come to us and talk to us as well. Communication, like he said, works both ways. Thank you, Coach Seymour. Um, any of
You're
the
welcome.
coaches, like uh, Coach Charlotte, Coach Tina, Coach Marcus, do you have anything you want to add to that?
That very very good message from both of you guys today. Your elevate and execute message was very on point. Is how we show up. Attitude, the way we show up each day and care of ourselves. That's a choice, and so it's definitely important to have the right show up the right way when doing the business. And then Coach Seymour's message that just hit home for. I wish there were more men on here. This is recorded, so if you guys have any men you want to get this message to, whether they're in the business or not, share this recording with them. And that's why I like Tuesday nights, because it's not always about business. It's about leadership development. And this is something I think will make men a better leader for their households. this is something I had to grow and be comfortable with sharing because growing up, that wasn't what we were taught. We weren't
Mhm.
encouraged to share how we felt, right? If we talked back, we got smacked in the mouth. Okay. That wasn't how we were raised. My wife was raised differently. She was able to voice her opinion with her parents and not get beat for it, right? But my house, that wasn't how it went down. So I had to, and when I became an adult, I had to get comfortable and be willing to open up and share when I wasn't doing well, right? Because I didn't see that. My mom, when she would get mad, she just wouldn't talk to anybody. She'd be mad at my dad, and we all would feel it. And you could, and that's silence. Can you imagine walking past a person in the same house and not talking? And that was what we grew up with. And my dad wasn't like that, but I never saw my dad cry until I was 19 years old. I remember him come home from work. He was stressed about something. He had a headache. I think he had high blood pressure, headache. He was sitting on his bed crying. I'm not 19. First time I seen my dad cry. Otherwise, everything was always good. I'm good. Everything was good. And so I had to learn how to let that shield down, especially after my daughter. When I had the daughter, I think that was the best thing for me. That had to make me softer. Growing up being a football player, like Coach Seymour says, suck it up, right? You dinged up on the football field. You couldn't cry on the football field, right? You had to suck it up. So as men, we have to, that really, this message is on point. I know a lot of men can benefit from this. I had to go through it a few months ago when we launched Solara and some of the drama that was going on. And so my wife knew things, so something was going on. And I told her, it made it a lot better. That helped me not respond to some of the things that were going on, for those of you who are aware. But good messages, always on point. Tuesday nights are one of my favorite nights of the week. So I appreciate you guys for pouring out tonight. Thanks.
Thank you, Coach. Yeah, there's something about that generation. 'Cause like I just put in the chat, the first time I saw my father cry was when his mother died. Um, but he's grown, obviously, just over time and the relationship that we built. So you just gotta let people know you're there for them, especially the men, because men, it's a different generation, with the generations that's gone on. So we got to break that cycle. And like Jerry said, the military definitely uh, can help, but also can also help tell you to push it, keep it inside too. So you got to learn outlets and you got to learn to talk to people because holding that in is not good for your health. It's not good for relationships because when you're going to explode, it's not going to always come out at the right time you want it and how you want it. Thank you, coaches. Thank you, Coach Seymour. A very well message. And thank you for the reminder. Everybody stay safe and have a blessed evening.
Good night, everybody.